Hello, I'm Paul Boynton with the Begin With Yes YouTube channel, and we have another exciting show for you today. You know, we've been talking a lot, both on my page and as I've talked to people, about fear and how people find doing new things creates and brings up fear. And I think with Judi, who's my guest all the way from New Zealand, we're going to be talking a little bit about that and who knows what else. So we'll find out together. Welcome, Judi.
Thanks so much for having me. Good morning from New Zealand.
I know, New Zealand. You're our first guest from New Zealand. That's what I love about the Begin With Yes page, is that there are people on the page from all over the world. And my partner wanted me to mention to you that he lived in Dunedin.
Oh, wow. It's very cold down there.
Yeah, he loved it. So he would love to go back one day. Where do you live in New Zealand?
I live just out of Auckland, which is the main city in the North Island.
Okay.
But I live in a tiny little seaside bay called Kawa Bay, so we only have about 200 people in our village. It's very small. And we have, most of them play the ukulele, thanks to me.
Do you all get together to play the ukulele?
Yeah, we do. We just had a midwinter Christmas night on Wednesday night, and
awesome.
Had a bit of a jam and gave away some presents. Yeah, I guess that's kind of what I like to do with my, what I'm good at is create some joy with music.
Well, we need more joy, definitely. So give people a sense for who you are, Judi, and what you're up to, and why you wanted to chat with me on Begin With Yes.
Yeah, thanks. I have a background in music education, so as you can see on the wall behind me, music's my thing. It's kind of more than just something I do. It's really something that I am. But I used to teach in what we call secondary school, primary school, down to the babies, and then I gave that up because I wanted to be a rock star and started a band, which I love doing, and have 5 kids, 3 of my own and 2 borrowed. And my second husband is just really into doing what you want to do, and so he encouraged me to start this band, which is fun. And then I broke my knee on stage about 12 years ago, and so I kind of had to think of a new thing to do. So I started my business at the moment called Kindy Rock, which is for writing music and resources for little kids. But I really believe in the power of music, that it can help us to learn and transform. So that's kind of what I'm doing. And then more recently, actually while I was recovering in bed, somebody chucked me the video, The Secret, when I was waiting for my knee surgery. And that really made a big difference to my life and changed the trajectory. Can you say that word at 6 o'clock in the morning?
Sure.
Yeah, the way
You're saying it better than I would at 6 o'clock in the morning. So
it's like it really, really made a big difference, and I had this huge swing into personal development, and so I realised that there's way more to life than what you see. And just more recently, started to write music affirmations and stuff as well, because I really believe in the power of music, and I love spoken word and affirmations. So combine them to write stuff which people really love singing. So yeah, that's where I'm up to. But I think the fear, if you want me to talk about that a little bit, is just being this little, was a solo mum in New Zealand with no money and blah blah, very shy. I was always very shy. I don't know how that happens when you're on stage now, but it feels to me like there's so many things I want to do, but I just get really scared that I can't do it, and then I don't do it, even down to making a decision. If you look at the picture on the wall behind me, there's supposed to be 3 of them, but I can't decide which order to put them, so they're not there. And, silly little things like that just stop me from moving forward. So
are you feeling like right now stuck?
I feel like I've got a trajectory going forward, that's for sure. I mean, even just saying that I come on this interview or filling in the form, but I can see the patterns. I think that's what it is, and can see the patterns. And sometimes I just knock myself, like, why aren't I doing that? Because I'd be a good thing. Yeah.
It's interesting that, especially people who do have passion, and first of all, that's a very good starting place, because I can't tell you how many people that I speak to especially on the Facebook page, who asked me, how can you find your passion? I'm not feeling any passion. So your starting place is you're very passionate, and you know what you're passionate about. Do you think that you know all the things you're passionate about, or are you so music focused that just sort of eclipses everything else?
That's a really good question. I feel like I'm growing to learn a lot more about what I'm passionate about. But another thing that I know I'm passionate about is my growth, my soul growth, and like figuring out who I really am and how this all works. But sometimes my passion of that stops me from doing things as well, because I'm trying so hard to work everything out. You know what I mean? You know, like, why are we here, and are we stardust, and and all that sort of woo-woo stuff, which I love, but sometimes I think, yeah.
It's interesting when you are passionate and you're interested in a lot of different things, and there's almost so many opportunities in front of you, so many different directions that you can go in, that you almost become immobilized by the number of opportunities. It's like you want to paint a picture, and you want to learn how to play a new instrument, and you want to bake a cake, and you want to learn how to dance, and you have all these things. And the danger in that, not necessarily in having all those things floating out there, but the problem comes when we let that kind of stall us, when we figure we've got so many opportunities, we don't know which path to go down. And and I'm a big believer in multitasking. I love to multitask. I love to have several projects happening at the same time. But usually when I do that, that slows all of them down, because you're spending a little bit of time here and a little bit of time over here and a little bit. Are you finding that that's true for you too?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think less so in the last sort of 6 months, but before that, when I started to kind of get into music affirmations, and I did a little bit of personal development courses myself and take them, stepped away from my kindy rock because I just needed a break, and then it's like, oh, I've got all these skills, you know. I love writing sort of these soul songs, which are, you know, really helping people. And so, yeah, I totally get that. It can be really hard.
The person that helps me with my technology is one of those people that he's always got a new idea. He always sets them into motion. And he's got so many things unfolding at once that, and for some reason, I don't think he gets overwhelmed, but he's definitely got a lot on his plate and a lot of things happening all at once. And we often joke with each other or tease each other about, there's not enough time in a day to do everything that you want to do. So that's a great starting place, right? I mean, because I can't tell you how many people, and I'm sure that there are people listening right now who are saying, oh my God, I'd give anything to, first of all, know what my passion was, and then I'd give anything to know which directions I wanted to go in. So you're starting at a very good place, I would think. And so if I were you, I would want to begin to think about sort of what I find helpful for me, and it may work for you or may not, but it's getting all these things down on paper, so that you've identified, like, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this, I want to do that. So you have this sort of this complete picture of all the things that you want to do. And then to begin realizing that if you're going to move past this place of being overwhelmed by opportunities, which is what a gift in a way when you think about it, right?
I've never thought of it like that.
It's like, oh my God, there are so many good, delicious foods on the table. I don't know what to eat.
It's so true.
So I would say it would really be helpful to you, and tell me what you think, but to get all these things at least down on a piece of paper, because there's something I find liberating about at least committing it to a piece of paper, because then it becomes real and it becomes something that I can look at. And then what I think you need to do once you do that is to begin to sort of identify what things do you feel should be your priorities for a certain period of time. Because given what you've told me, I don't think that you can do everything that you want to do all at the same time.
No, not well anyway,
Right.
not well.
And so,
And just get frustrated because you can't do it all, yeah.
right.
I really like that idea. I feel like you've just given me you just flipped the overwhelm into something else because you've said overwhelmed by opportunities, which is, it kind of makes it into a good thing instead of like,
oh my God, it's like,
yeah.
right. It's a great gift to have, but if it's keeping you sort of immobilized or not sure where to go or what to do, then you're sort of not taking advantage of all the opportunities that you've been given. And so I think if you can identify, there's something about putting it on a piece of paper. It means you're not disregarding it. You're not letting it go, but you're going to be realistic about what's possible in the next 6 months. And you're going to say, I'm not going to let this go. I'm not going to forget about it. I'm not going to lose sight about it. But these are, I would say, if you could choose 2 or 3 things that you're going to focus on, at least for the next 6 months. Because what I find happens to me is sometimes what I think is the most important thing, once I get engaged and involved, it becomes less important to me. And something else emerges. And so you want to stay flexible so you can sort of say, I mean, I'm not saying commit to these 3 things and then just spend the next 6 months or the next year solely focused on that, no matter how you're feeling. Pay attention. You're a very smart woman. You're an intuitive woman. You know a lot. And so pay attention to what you're feeling about the things that you're working on, and don't be afraid to say, you know what, I thought that was the most important thing, but it's not. So I'm going to move that over to this list of things I'll come back to and move something else into the front, to the front burner. The other thing that's going to happen, I might as well warn you right now, is if you really get engaged in 2 or 3 things, you're going to discover even more things that you're passionate about. You're not going to discover less, you're going to discover more. And so you're going to always be sort of going through that process of, I'm going to keep a list, I'm not going to, and it's going to be an important list, but I'm not going to try to do everything at once. And so I'm going to take, because you've got 5 kids, right? You've got
they're all
talented
big now.
people playing the ukulele that you have to pay attention to, and a partner that needs attention, and all kinds of practical realities. And so if you identify, I think, 2 or 3 things, and then decide I'm going to devote my attention to those things, and then look at those 3 items, big items, and then start asking yourself, what's one small thing I can do today to move that agenda a little bit further? And with 3 things, you ought to be able to do one small step in each 3 area every day. Someday you might take 2 steps in one and none in another, but you can keep 3, I think, moving along. And then 1, I would be very surprised if you and I talked in 3 months and you didn't say 1 sort of emerged as the primary focus for right now. But maybe not. We'll see what happens once you move forward. But I think that's going to help you. And then that one small step, it's sort of like, it's almost impossible to go from here to here. I was talking to someone earlier this morning about that. It's sort of like there's lots of steps, and each of those steps, you might feel like they're slowing you down, but they're actually, every step you take, you're actually gaining knowledge. You're understanding things in a deeper, more meaningful way. And then that sort of redirects the next step. So if you get too carried away with both taking millions of steps at once or planning out what the next 6 months are going to look like, you're not taking advantage of all the new information that's going to come into your mind and heart while you're taking these small steps. So they may seem like small steps, but 7 small steps at the end of a week is tremendous progress. And I think if you're doing that in 2 or 3 areas, you're going to feel like you're making progress. And then you've still got all these other wonderful things that you can, anytime you want to move them to the top of the list, you can do that. Do you think that might help you?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it's kind of funny because I sort of know, it's like you know that, but sometimes it's just another way of looking at it. Just having the permission to write all the things you want to do down in that way. I've done the list of I want to climb Mount Everest, which actually wasn't on the list, but I want to do that. But I haven't actually ever done it for my business or my personal gifts and stuff. So that's really feels really nice.
I think that's one of the things about the book Begin With Yes is that I'm not, like, it's not rocket science. Everybody sort of knows some inside, but it's just hearing somebody else say it. Do you have other people around you that support you and can keep you focused?
Yeah, I totally do. I'm in a lot of Facebook, big time Facebook world, which is great. Yeah, which is great. So I'm actually in the productivity group. I'm in a couple of soul masterminds, and yeah, I'm in quite a few different things. So yeah, I have a lot of support. But yeah, it's going to be. It feels to me one of my biggest issue in the last few months has been that whole productivity, moving forward in the right way and being focused on the right things. And, you know, sometimes, you just got so frantic that you're getting it right that you haven't done anything.
And really, how do we ever know exactly what's the right thing until we sort of invest in it? Do you know what I mean? I can't tell you how many paths I've gone down, and the good part or the best thing that came out of going down that path is that I realized that I really didn't, that path wasn't all that important when all was said and done. I could let go of that. Arianna Huffington, I don't know if you've ever heard of her or know of her, but she's somebody that I admire, and she was talking about getting older, and one of the things that she found very liberating, and I can identify it because I'm getting older too, is that she said that she's sort of been able to let go of some things because she wanted to do so much. She wanted to learn how to play the piano, and she wanted to learn how to speak Spanish, and she just had this huge laundry list of all the things that she wanted to do. And she said, you know, one of the joys for her, and I think it's true for me too, of growing older, is that I'm okay with putting some things off to the side and saying, you know, maybe I'm not going to learn how to play the piano, and I'll settle for enjoying listening to beautiful piano music because it frees you up to do something else. It's like nobody can do everything, right? So if we have this abundance of desires, there's something liberating of saying, you know what, that's still on my list, but it's really far, it's on the back burner for right now, and I'm not going to let it distract me or pull me away from doing the things that are more important, which are your top 2 or 3 things. And I think if you begin to make progress in those areas, you're going to feel a lot less overwhelmed. You're going to feel like what you already know in your heart. You know how powerful you are, right? You know how much you can get done, how much you can make happen. I mean, you've done so much in your life. So I think for you, it just comes down to focus and daring to let go of some things for the time being. And I don't know how challenging that will be for you to let go of some things because you're so passionate about so many things.
Yeah, I guess it's the things you feel like you have to as well, that you've kind of been committed to and not necessarily your thing, you know, like I'm doing quite a lot in the community and things like that. So that's, but also just learning to just get on with it and stop faffing around.
Well, you know what? We actually use this as an excuse to not do anything. Feeling overwhelmed. It's like if you're feeling overwhelmed and you don't do anything about being overwhelmed, then you're really just using that as an excuse, right? You have to say to yourself at some point, why am I overwhelmed? And from the sounds of things, you're overwhelmed because you've got so many things that you want to do. So, you know, tightening the list a little bit, I think, is going to liberate you to actually make some good things happen. When you wrote, you also mentioned fear, and I'm not hearing any fear. But can you speak to that if it's something that's really part of your experience right now?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I have, I don't like to say worked, but, you know, I have worked a lot on myself, and so I'm aware of it now. I notice thoughts in my head that aren't helpful, and I don't feel like it grips me like it used to, but it certainly still does, you know, like the stupid thing up here on the wall, crazy things that I just don't do because I don't know the answer, or I don't think I know the answer. So, I think maybe in bigger ways it's not gripping me as much now. No, it still does.
Can you give me a specific example of something you're fearful about?
Making decisions is a really big thing for me. So
It's
should I go this way or that way, or should I use my time this way or that way? That's probably my biggest thing.
I would imagine in all the work that you've done on yourself personally, that you really understand what you say to yourself creates the reality of who you are, right? What you're telling yourself. So I would really love to see you begin practicing, stop telling yourself that you have trouble making decisions or that you're not decisive, and just stop making decisions. It's like starting tomorrow.
Today.
Starting today, you can be decisive and begin telling yourself that you're a decision maker, that you're decisive. And again, I think having a fewer things floating around in your head that you have to make decisions about will be helpful as well.
That's right. Yeah, you are right. I mean, I know that.
So it's like, you're not that scared. You're not terrible at making decisions. You've been blessed with a tremendous amount of things that you want to accomplish. You've got passion that most people would give anything for. And so the only thing holding you back really right now is that you want to do too many things.
Yeah.
So narrow it in, your focus, pay attention to something, and you're not making this decision for the rest of your life or even for a year. You're making it for the next 3 or 4 months. And you're going to focus your attention there, and then you get to re-examine what you're doing and see if you want to let go of something or add something else to the list. And I'll bet you anything, I'd be willing to bet you $100 that if you did this for 6 months, something brand new that you haven't even thought of will surface.
Will come up, yeah.
Right. And,
is it US $100 or New Zealand $100?
which is worth more?
US.
All right, then US.
Way more.
But I'm pretty sure I'm right, and I think you know that too, because your mind is like spinning out of control with good ideas.
Yeah, creative people have that, I guess.
That's really
People
true.
who aren't so creative want the creativity, but I guess everything comes with the plus and minus.
Well, you're sitting on sort of a gold mine of opportunity, and I think if you get focused and become more decisive, which you absolutely can do, then you're going to begin to feel less struggle around this, and I think you'll begin to thrive. So anything else that you'd want to ask me before we say goodbye?
No, I think that's amazing. I feel really, when you talk to people who've got it, it changes how you feel pretty instantaneously. So you've got it, and I get it. I get what you're saying, and I'm really excited to move forward with that stuff.
All right. Well,
thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for getting up so early to do this. I really appreciate your enthusiasm, and that shows your sense of adventure, being willing to do that. So thank you so much. Keep me posted. Will you at least send me an email and tell me what your top 3 things were?
I will.
That you got to focus on?
Thank you. I will.
Awesome. Okay, I'll be looking to see what you make happen in the next 6 months.
Thank you very much. Really,
Take care.
appreciate it.
Great talking with you.
Thanks. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That was so wonderful talking to our first New Zealand guest, and that gives me an opportunity to, if you can hear this, then you're living someplace where you could be a guest on this show too. And all you have to do to make that happen is send me an email at paul@beginwithyes.com, and I'll give you a link to a short form that you can fill out in 10 minutes, and then we can see what we can make happen so you can be sitting in the hot seat having a fun conversation with me too. So have a great time. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next time on Begin with Yes.